In this video we're going to look at inheritance, which is essentially extending a class that you've already created. You may have instantiated this object, but you might want more sort of subclasses essentially that branch out from this main object. So we've already given the example of product. Obviously product is a very generic class. Anything can be a product, but we might have lots of different types of products. For example, if we were creating some kind of shop system. So what we're going to do in this video is we're going to look at inheritance and extending this class, and then adding some more properties that are specific to the extended classes. So let's go ahead and just tidy this up so we can start sort of fresh. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the constructor because we'll talk about how we can, overriding specific methods within classes in inheritance. That's slightly more complicated. And let's go ahead and get rid of price just so we can keep this simple. And we'll also get rid of the getProductPrice method as well. So essentially what we have here is a class of product with a protected variable or protected property type, and then we've got a getProductType method which returns the type. So relatively straightforward. Now this is from the last part, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this, and we'll instantiate this object and extend it as we normally would. So essentially what we're going to be doing is we're going to create a couple of subclasses of different types of products. So we could create, for example, a book or some food, and then we'll add specific properties to these as well. So let's go ahead and do this. Now we've already got our product class here, but we're going to open a separate file for our extended class. We're not going to keep it all inside of this product file because our new class is going to be called something different. So let's go ahead and create a new file, and let's obviously just give this some PHP tags, and let's go ahead and save it out. So I'm going to save it within classes, and I'm going to save it as let's just say book.php. We'll give the example of a book. Now a product obviously has a type. This is going to be invalid, you'll see in a moment, because we obviously, when we extend a class, we're going to give it a type anyway. You might not understand what I'm talking about at all, but let's go ahead and extend this and see how it works. Actually let's change this to price. Makes a lot more sense. No, we'll keep it as type for now. We won't confuse things. Okay, so within our book.php, let's go ahead and start to extend our class. Now essentially what we do is we say class book, which is the new class that we're creating, and we'd normally do this like this, but what we do is we use the extend keyword, and then we give the class that we're extending. So in this case that is product. So essentially what we've done now is we've created a new class, we've retained all the properties and the methods of that class, but we're now able to give more specific properties and specific methods. So for example, a book will have an author, whereas an item of food might not. It might have a manufacturer, or you can get down to as much detail as you want within your subclasses. So class book, now what's it going to have? Well, let's just say it has an ISBN, which is a unique identifier for books. So I'm going to say protected, and I'll say ISBN or PN. In fact, we'll do this all lowercase, ISBN, and that's it. So we've created now a new property within our book class, but we've still we've still kept this type property here. As I said, the type property is invalid because we've extended this class and we know that this subclass is now a book. However, it's an example, so it's not obviously meant for actual use. Now let's go ahead and create a new method. So again, we've kept this getProductType method, but we're extending the class and we're adding more methods overall. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say public get product ISBN, and we'll go ahead and we'll return this ISBN. So essentially what we already know, we're just doing again. So we now have product, which is our parent class, and our book, which is our child class or subclass as it's more commonly known. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to require, book as well. Notice that I'm including or requiring product as well. We can't just require this, we have to do both. Obviously when you get lots of classes, you're not going to want to require them all down the page. We'll look later on in the series at how we can do this a lot more efficiently. However, let's go ahead and create instantiate or create a new object of product. Then we'll go ahead and we'll create a new object of book. So we've got our generic product and our book. In fact, let's just go ahead and do book. So book equals, and we'll say new book. So you can already see now that we're creating a new book. Now we don't have a setter method for this, and we've removed our construct. Let's go ahead and create a method to add the ability to set this product ISBN as well. So again, things that we've already learned, we'll say this ISBN is equal to, and we'll give a ISBN in here. There we go. Okay, so now we've got a method here that we can use. Obviously we have a protected type here, so we can't set it outside of the class. So let's go ahead and we've instantiated this, and let's go ahead and say book set product ISBN. Now you obviously wouldn't do this because you'd already have the ISBN stored, assuming you would. However, let's go ahead and just give this a value. I'm just going to give it a few numbers. Now, in fact, let's go over to our browser and refresh. We've actually got an error, so let's go ahead and fix this. So we've got a syntax error, expecting T variable book on line 5. Let's go ahead and check that out. This. Oh yeah, sorry, we need to say public function. You've probably already noticed that, but there we are. So we now have our methods. Okay, we've got no errors. Let's go ahead and now get this ISBN. So get product ISBN, and we'll go ahead and just echo that out. Okay, so we're instantiating our book object. We're instantiating our book object. We are setting the product ISBN, and we're getting the product ISBN. Now remember, we're not doing anything that directly relates to any properties or methods found in our parent class, in our product class. So we're getting this result where we just output as we've already seen. But now let's go ahead and try and use this method here, this get product type method. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to actually go ahead and add a constructor to this book class to set this type. So let's go ahead and do this. So we'll say public function, and we'll set a construct. And in here we're going to pass, let's say, type. And we'll say, we'll say this type is equal to type. Now we don't actually have a property up here called type, but because we've extended this from product, we have access to this here. Because it's protected, we have access. We'll take a look in just a second about our private visibility modifier, and how we can't use it if something's private. So on the instantiation of this book object, we can pass a type through now, which will set the type in the parent class. So let's go ahead and do that. Obviously this doesn't make sense because you already know it's a book. However, we'll just do this. In fact, we could say, for example, children. It might be a child's book or something. So when we refresh now, we get no errors. Now what we can do is we can actually, let's say we'll copy and paste this down. No, we'll make a sentence. It makes a lot more sense. So we'll say this, and then we'll give the type. So we'll say book get product type has ISBN. There. So now what we're saying is we're saying this something So we could say this children's book, or this children, but it will say children book. It doesn't make grammatical sense, but who cares? So this children book or children's book has ISBN and then our ISBN. So this we're taking from the parent class, which we've set within this class here, as we've instantiated it, and then we're taking this from our child class. So we're making use of the properties and methods within our parent class as well, which is important because we might have properties that are common amongst a lot of the child or subclasses. And remember, we don't just we're not limited to extending this once. We don't really have a limit on how many times we can extend this. So let's go ahead and refresh and see what result we get here. And you can see that we've got this children's book has ISBN and then the ISBN. So we're taking this value from the parent and this value from the class that we currently have instantiated, which is the book object, which we've created here. So I'm going to wrap things up at that. I'm not going to go into too much more detail in this video. We will obviously look at extending classes a lot more. We'll look at sort of scope resolution operator and things like that sound complicated but actually aren't. So we'll follow on from here and we'll look at a few more bits.